Jason stepped off the shuttle and looked around in awe. The city of Lyrian stretched before him, a dazzling collection of floating towers, bridges that glowed with soft light, and streets filled with beings he had never seen before. His boots clicked against the metallic landing platform, and he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had traveled across light years on a diplomatic mission, but nothing in his training could have prepared him for what awaited. The alien officials who greeted him were tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered in subtle shades of blue and silver. They moved with perfect grace, their long fingers gesturing fluidly as they spoke in a language that seemed musical. One of them, a female with deep violet eyes, stepped forward and bowed. Jason returned the gesture awkwardly, feeling clumsy compared to their fluid movements. "You are Jason of Earth," she said, in perfect galactic standard. "The Council welcomes you. You are the one spoken of in the prophecy." Jason blinked. "Prophecy?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "The one who will unite our people and bring balance to the warring factions. You were chosen to marry Princess Illyra, heir of the royal house." Jason's mouth went dry. Marry an alien princess? He had imagined strange scenarios in his dreams, but nothing this real. And Illyra, he had never met her. What would she think of a human? Could he even communicate with her properly? He was led through the floating city, streets bustling with alien merchants selling glowing fruits and textiles that seemed to move on their own. Jason struggled to take it all in. He had expected diplomacy, discussions, maybe a formal reception. But marriage? And not just any marriage, a royal one. Tied to prophecy, when he finally entered the palace, he could barely comprehend its scale. It floated above a crystal-clear lake, with waterfalls suspended in midair by invisible energy fields. The walls were transparent in places, allowing him to see the city below and the stars above. Every surface glimmered with light, as if the palace itself were alive. Illyra was waiting in the grand hall, her presence commanding but calm. Her silver-blue skin caught the light in a way that made her seem ethereal. Her violet eyes studied Jason carefully, as if she were trying to see beyond his human appearance into the heart of who he was. Jason felt a nervous flutter in his chest. She was stunning, but there was also intelligence and strength in her gaze that made him hesitate. "Jason of Earth," she said, her voice musical and soft. "I am Illyra. I suppose we must follow the tradition, though I did not expect it to be so sudden." Jason nodded, unsure what to say. I mean, marriage, prophecy, it's a lot to take in." Illyra smiled faintly. "It is a lot for anyone, human or alien, but our people believe this is necessary." The ceremony itself was unlike anything Jason had ever imagined. There were no flowers or music he recognized. Instead, the air shimmered with floating orbs of light that pulsed gently. Alien musicians played instruments that hummed and glowed, sending waves of sound that seemed to vibrate in Jason's chest. The royal robes were not sewn, but grown from living fabrics, moving in response to the emotions of those wearing them. Illyra's gown shifted from deep violet to silver as she moved. Jason felt out of place in his simple human suit, but the council paid him no mind. Their focus was on the ritual itself. When the officiant, a tall alien with eyes that glowed like molten gold, pronounced them married, Jason barely registered the words. His mind was racing, thinking about what this meant. He had just become part of an alien royal family. He would live on Lyrian. He would be expected to understand their ways, their politics, and now, somehow, their traditions of marriage. He was led to the chambers he would share with Illyra, a room suspended in the palace's highest tower. The walls were transparent, showing the glowing city below, and the floor was a soft material that shifted colors as he stepped. He imagined that now, at last, he would spend a private evening with his new bride, as human stories often described. He was wrong. Illyra's eyes were serious as she explained. On Lyrian, the first night of marriage is not about what humans call romance. It is about connecting our minds and bodies to understand one another fully. It is a series of rituals. "You must trust me." Jason swallowed hard. "Rituals?" he asked, unsure what to expect. "Yes," she said. You will learn our ways. You will experience things that seem unusual to you. But these rituals are designed to help us communicate, to synchronize our thoughts and emotions. Only then can we truly understand each other. Jason followed her into a room that seemed to defy gravity. The walls and floor shifted in colors and patterns, and he felt a light pressure that made him float slightly above the ground. Illyra guided him to a pair of glowing mats. "Sit," she instructed. "Hold my hands." "Close your eyes." Jason hesitated, then obeyed. He felt the warmth of her hands, the shimmer of her skin against his, and then a strange humming sensation coursed through his body. A crystal device hovered between them, glowing softly. "This will show us memories," Illyra explained. "You will see my experiences, and I will see yours. Trust the process." Jason nodded, and a wave of images flooded his mind. Illyra's childhood training in diplomacy, her struggles to live up to expectations, moments of loneliness, despite the grandeur around her. At first, he felt overwhelmed. He was used to his own world, his own experiences. But seeing her life in vivid detail made him realize how complex her world was. When it was his turn, Illyra observed quietly as memories of his own life appeared, his family on Earth. The missions he had undertaken, the times he had felt fear and hope in equal measure. She reached out, touching his arm, and Jason felt a warmth that reassured him. It was not intimate in a romantic sense, but it was deeply human, deeply connecting. After the memory sharing, Illyra led him to another part of the chamber. The gravity shifted. Jason found himself floating lightly as she guided him through movements designed to challenge balance and coordination. "These exercises teach us to anticipate each other's movements," she said. "Trust builds through synchronization." Jason laughed nervously as he stumbled, nearly colliding with a wall of light. Illyra reached out and steadied him, and he realized that trust was already forming. Even in these strange alien exercises, they moved together, slowly at first, then with more confidence. Each gesture, each step, brought them closer, not just physically, but mentally. Hours passed, though Jason lost track of time. They practiced meditation together, shared stories aloud, and navigated the shifting room, all while learning the rhythm of each other's thoughts and reactions. It was exhausting, but he felt a strange exhilaration. He had never known a connection like this one that bypassed words and went straight to understanding. At one point, Jason looked at Illyra, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. She smiled, a rare expression he had not yet seen. "You are human," she said softly, "and yet you adapt quickly. You are more capable than many in my own world." Jason's chest warmed. I just try to do what seems right," he replied. "I want to understand, to help." "That is all anyone can ask," Illyra said. "Even a human." Finally, as the night wore on, they sat quietly, hands still touching, feeling the lingering energy of the rituals. Jason realized that the first night had not been about what he expected at all. It was not about romance or intimacy in the human sense. It was about connection, trust, and mutual understanding, a foundation for a partnership that could bridge worlds. As he lay down to rest on the floating mat, Jason stared out at the glowing city below. He had married an alien princess, entered a world he barely understood, and yet for the first time, he felt a spark of hope. He had begun to see Illyra not just as a beautiful alien figure, but as a partner, someone wise, strong, and capable of seeing the world in ways he could never imagine. Illyra, lying across from him, watched Jason with equal curiosity. Humans were unpredictable, impulsive, and yet capable of courage and empathy in ways her people sometimes lacked. She had expected a formal, rigid experience, but Jason's presence brought life and warmth to the rituals. The connection they had begun tonight was only the beginning, but it was strong enough to hold potential for something extraordinary in that moment. High above a city of lights and clouds, two beings from different worlds shared a bond neither fully understood. It was strange, unexpected, and entirely new. And though Jason did not yet know how he would navigate the complexities of alien marriage, he knew one thing: he wanted to learn. He wanted to grow. He wanted to become worthy of Illyra's trust And Alira, despite her royal training and years of preparation, found herself quietly hoping the human would succeed, not only because of prophecy, but because she felt something she had never felt before, a spark of admiration, a glimmer of affection, and a deep curiosity about the heart of humanity. The first night was over, but their journey had only just begun. The morning sunlight filtered through the translucent walls of the palace chamber, painting the room in soft shades of gold and violet. Jason stirred awake, his body still feeling the effects of the night's rituals. He glanced across at Illyra, who was already sitting upright, moving with a calm precision that only royalty seemed to possess. She watched him quietly, her violet eyes reflecting both curiosity and amusement. "Good morning," Jason said, rubbing his eyes and attempting a smile. Did we really do all that last night?" Alira chuckled softly, a sound like wind through crystal trees. "Yes, and you performed better than I expected. You adapted quickly, human." Jason blinked, surprised. "Adapted? I was barely keeping my balance half the time." "Balance is not just physical," she said. "It is mental, emotional, and spiritual. Last night was about more than movement. It was about understanding each other's rhythm. You succeeded." Jason felt a swell of pride. He had entered this alien world as a stranger, clumsy and inexperienced, and now Alira acknowledged his efforts. But he also felt the weight of responsibility. Being married to a princess was no longer just ceremonial. It meant diplomacy, leadership, navigating a culture far different from his own. Alira rose gracefully and extended her hand. "Come with me. There is something you must experience." He followed her through the palace corridors, which seemed to float in mid-air, their surfaces glowing softly beneath his feet. They entered a vast garden, filled with plants that shimmered in iridescent colors and moved slightly as if breathing. Small pools of water reflected the sky, and floating orbs hovered above, casting light and warmth. "This is the meditation garden," Alira explained. "Here, we start our mornings by attuning ourselves to the environment. You must try it." Jason hesitated. "Attune myself," she smiled. "Place your hands on the water. Feel its flow. Focus on the plants. Let them guide your energy." Jason crouched by a pool and touched the water. At first, nothing happened, but slowly he felt a gentle vibration under his hands. He focused, and the water began to ripple in response to his movements. The plants around him swayed slightly, reacting to the calm energy he projected. He blinked, astonished. "You are improving," Alira said, joining him. "Humans can learn quickly when they are willing. Focus. Trust yourself." Jason nodded, taking a deep breath. For the first time, he felt a real connection, not just to Alira, but to this alien world itself. The rituals of last night, the memory sharing, and the synchronization exercises had not been strange or arbitrary. They had prepared him to feel this connection. After a time, they left the garden and returned to the palace. Jason found himself more confident, moving with a new awareness of his surroundings. Illyra guided him through lessons in etiquette, teaching him gestures, phrases, and ways to show respect without offending alien sensibilities. He stumbled several times, bowing too deeply or using the wrong hand gestures. But Allyra corrected him patiently, laughing softly at his mistakes. Their day was interrupted by an urgent summons. A minor diplomatic incident had arisen in the city below, a misunderstanding between two factions that could have escalated. Jason's heart raced. He had no idea how to handle alien politics, yet Allyra insisted he accompany her at the meeting. The representatives of the two factions glared at each other, their bodies glowing faintly in anger. Illyra moved confidently between them, speaking in melodic tones, but the arguments seemed endless. Jason watched, trying to understand the subtle cues. Then, noticing a flaw in the floating communication device that amplified their voices, he stepped forward. "I think I can help," he said. Allyra glanced at him, her expression a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Jason carefully adjusted the device. Using principles he had learned in engineering back on Earth, the hum of the device stabilized, and the tension in the room eased as the representatives could hear each other clearly. Illyra continued the dialogue, now easier for both sides to follow. Slowly, the factions began to understand one another. The dispute was resolved without violence. Illyra turned to Jason, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "You have saved the situation," she said. "Your insight. It is valuable. Not just to me, but to my people. You are truly different from what we expected." Jason felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. He had not only survived his first night, but had also proven himself useful in the palace, bridging the gap between two alien factions. For the first time, he felt he could live up to the expectations placed upon him. Evening approached, and Illyra invited Jason to a private chamber at the top of the palace, a floating observatory above the city. The room was circular, with glass walls allowing a full view of the stars. Jason felt a thrill of awe as he gazed at the unfamiliar constellations and planets, sparkling in the blackness of space. "This is where we share our dreams," Illyra explained. "It is the final part of the first night rituals. We experience each other's fears, hopes, and memories in a way that words cannot convey." Jason nodded, feeling a nervous anticipation. A small crystal device hovered between them, glowing softly. He placed his hands on it, and Illyra did the same. Suddenly, vivid images flooded his mind. Illyra struggles to balance the responsibilities of her people. Her fear of isolation, the pressure to fulfill prophecy, and her longing for genuine companionship. Jason saw not just her strength, but her vulnerability. When it was his turn, Illyra watched quietly as images of his life appeared. Earth's oceans, the mountains he had climbed, his family, and his moments of fear and courage. Illyra reached out, touching his hand, and he felt the warmth of her presence. Even across the barrier of memory, Jason was overwhelmed, but he also felt a deep sense of connection. He saw Illyra not as an alien figure to be admired from afar, but as someone who shared fears, hopes, and dreams much like his own. The realization struck him. Despite the differences between their worlds, they were both capable of love, empathy, and trust. When the visions ended, they sat in silence for a moment, simply breathing together. Feeling the lingering energy of the shared experience, Jason finally spoke. "I didn't expect any of this. I thought marriage would be about other things. But this is more. It's understanding." Illyra smiled faintly. "Yes, true partnership is not just about physical closeness. It is about knowing each other, trusting each other, and supporting one another. You have embraced this, Jason. I am proud of you." Jason felt a warmth in his chest he had never experienced before. He had expected confusion, strangeness, and perhaps fear in marrying an alien princess. Instead, he had found trust, understanding, and the beginning of a real partnership. Over the following days, Jason adapted further to life in the palace. He learned the language more fluently, practiced the morning meditation with Illyra, and began to understand the complex social hierarchy of Lyrian. He realized that being a human in this alien world was not a disadvantage. His problem-solving skills, empathy, and adaptability allowed him to navigate situations where others might fail. Illyra observed him closely, her initial caution replaced by admiration. She introduced him to her family, and though some were skeptical of a human marrying into the royal line, Jason earned their respect through his intelligence, courage, and willingness to learn. He became known not just as a human visitor, but as a partner capable of bridging worlds. One evening, as they walked along a floating bridge overlooking the city, Jason turned to Illyra. "I never imagined this would be like it is," he said. I don't know. Humans and aliens are so different. I worried we'd never understand each other." Illyra took his hand, her touch gentle but firm. "We are different, Jason, but difference does not mean separation. It means we can teach and learn from each other. You have shown me courage, patience, and insight. That is more valuable than any similarity." Jason felt a surge of gratitude and respect for her. He realized that the prophecy, the marriage, and even the first night rituals had all been a test, not just for him, but for both of them. They had to see each other as equals, as partners, capable of facing challenges together. Their bond deepened as they continued to share experiences, solve problems together, and explore Lyrian's wonders. Jason discovered a fascination with the alien technology, the floating gardens, and the energy fields that powered the city. Illyra learned to appreciate his human perspective, his practicality, and his ability to act decisively in unexpected situations. One night, as they sat in the Star Chamber again, Illyra spoke softly. "Jason, the first night was not what you expected, was it?" Jason shook his head, smiling. "Not at all. But it was perfect. I understand now. I've never felt this close to anyone before, not even on Earth." Illyra's eyes softened, and she leaned slightly closer. "Then our journey has begun. There will be challenges, but also moments like this. We will learn, grow, and protect each other. That is the promise of our union." Jason nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. He was not just a visitor or a pawn in alien politics. He was a partner, a husband, and someone who could make a real difference in this world. Illyra's world was vast, complex, and sometimes intimidating, but he no longer feared as they gazed at the stars. Floating high above the city of lights and clouds, Jason and Illyra felt a connection that transcended worlds, species, and expectation. The first night had been nothing like Jason had imagined, but it